There is an endless sea of podcasts about entrepreneurship. Talking about it, but not living it. We live it every day. This is Inside the Wolf's Den, an entrepreneurial journey with Shawn and Joni Wolfswinkle, talking about real estate investing, but also encompassing general subjects in regards to owning small to medium-sized businesses. And of course, all the struggles that business owners must overcome to be successful. This is Inside the Wolf's Den. And this is Shawn and Joni Wolfswinkle.
Welcome back to Inside the Wolf's Den with your hosts, Shawn and Joni Wolfswinkle. Today, we actually have a very special guest and actually in the house inside the Wolf's Den, so not via Zoom. It's actually, he's in Houston, so I'm very excited about that. I met Steve not too long ago. I think I've seen you, a few times, but I'm just intrigued about what you're doing. So happy that you're here with us today.
I'm very happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So just to give you a little bit of a brief bio on Steve Vigil. So like most people, he and his life partner, Suzan, started investing in real estate with little background in the industry while working full-time. Between 2002 and 2009, the dynamic duo acquired 6 single-family properties, an 8-unit and a 10-unit. We thought we knew what we were doing, but we really didn't have a clue. In 2012, Steve joined the Wealth Club, and his real estate investing career took off. We credit much of our rapid and phenomenal success to the Wealth Club. The friends, connections, and education we received are invaluable and were imperative to our success. The biggest challenge Steve faced was getting started. It had been a year since Suzan and I took an investment seminar, but we hadn't done any deals. Steve's big revelation took place at a free In-5 class conducted by the Wealth Club. Sitting in the workshop, I kept picturing myself at the front of the room. I was discouraged, thinking I would never be qualified enough to be standing there. I had a conversation with my mentor, and he told me the only person I needed to be was myself. I realized then the only thing holding me back was me. It was a mental breakthrough. 2 weeks after his conversation, I was sitting down writing a contract. This mental breakthrough drastically changed our investment strategy in our lives. Today, with 16 years of experience behind him, Steve takes great pride in educating and assisting fellow entrepreneurs in reaching their goals and achieving wealth. Wow, that's a pretty cool story there. And it sounds a lot like Shawn and I. So when you get started, it really is, getting started is probably the hardest thing in taking that leap, right?
Definitely.
What's cool about the whole, your intro there is, you started with the Wealth Club, and then now to running it and owning it. So you did a full circle there.
Yeah, and not ever had that in mind, especially in the beginning. But the thing that was so great about the Wealth Club when we first got started was everybody we talked to, we asked questions, and they gave us answers. And everybody was straight up with us, giving us a bunch of lines and sending us down wrong paths. And because of, even though I had bought 6 rental properties, we had the 8-unit, the 10-unit. I got lots of scars from all those properties because we didn't know what we were doing,
right.
And so the Wealth Club just always was a really good place to go, where we always felt comfortable. And then, here we are years later, and, we're in our 4th year of owning the Wealth Club, and, we've helped grow it from where it was, and it's just been a phenomenal experience, and being able to teach and give back is great because, we didn't get here by ourselves by any means.
Right.
So it's wonderful to be able to teach a lot of people and help a lot of people.
Do you find that to me, what impressed me or what I hear is, do you feel like you're a big action taker? So, because it sounds like you learned, but then, because what I find is so many people go to all these classes and then they don't do anything with it. Mm-hmm. What made you different? Do you find just you listened, you took their advice, and then you took action? Is that?
Eventually, not in the beginning.
Okay.
I was really bad about that because one of my big mental problems was I was a great employee. Mm-hmm. I was the best employee. There were no employees out there better than me. Mm-hmm. And that was my mindset. Nobody was better than I was. Yeah. But being an entrepreneur is a very different mindset.
It really is.
So I had to, and that was part of the, I keep thinking I had to be that certain guy up on stage or that investor. Mm-hmm. And I didn't know who that was. I couldn't figure that out. And when it was pointed out to me that, just by being myself, because I had all the talent to do it, that was really the key.
Yeah.
And so then once I got that mindset going, I've always been very good at taking action. Like I said, I was a great employee. I'm always good at taking action. And then building that confidence in myself and believing in myself that I could go and do it.
Yeah. Absolutely. And you talked a lot about your mentor, when you got started. And so Shawn and I, when we got started, we also had that mentor to kind of, walk us through that. It's you have to have that, right?
Without a doubt. I mean, it makes all the difference in the world. And my coach and mentor is still my coach and mentor to this day, but we're very good friends. As a matter of fact, we'll be on vacation with them next week.
That's awesome.
That's cool.
Very cool.
So, through a lot of growth and a lot of years, but the thing that my coach and mentor saw in me was I was the one guy that I'm very coachable. You tell me to go do something, I go do it. I don't argue about it. I don't question it. I go do it.
That's a great point right there. Being coachable. I think, a lot of times that why people get into business is that they don't do anything is because they don't listen to their mentors. They don't, you tell them to do something and they do the total opposite.
Well, I have people that want me to coach them and I tell them to do something and then they want to tell me a better way to do it.
Right.
I'm like, okay, this isn't going to work.
You're like, I've been doing this for a long time.
Well, give us a little background, like on your, I mean, it was some of it was in your intro and in your bio, but tell us a little bit more your story, like where it started, and you can skip some parts or whatever you think's best, but yeah, really how you got to where you are today.
Well, like I said, I was in corporate America. I put my 30 plus years in corporate America, and one of the things about that was as I was getting older, I kept thinking, at the end of this career, there's nothing. I mean, there's no pot of gold at the end of the rainbow here. and that really bothered me. It actually just scared me. And it's like I knew that I had to do something. And, of course, I was taught that by my mom. If you want to get somewhere or do something, you got to go do it yourself. Nobody's going to give it to you.
Right.
And so I always had, always liked real estate. And like I said, I picked stuff up over the years while I was working, but really didn't know anything. Where I thought I was rehabbing a house, I was on my first rental properties. I was doing nothing more than doing a very simple make-ready. But I thought I was rehabbing it. That's how little I knew.
Yeah.
And so we went to a seminar, the very first seminar we ever went to, and 5 minutes or 10 minutes into that seminar, I turned to Suzan and I said, "We suck really bad. we are about as mom and pop as they get." And I thought I was a professional. No, it doesn't work that way. But that was when I first heard about wholesaling. I never heard about wholesaling before. That was when they talked about rehabbing, and I'm going, "Oh, that's what rehabbing is. That's what it really is." And so, we just started taking that slow action over time, and kept working. Once we really committed to doing this business, and this is what we wanted to do, for our first year of really going out there and making deals and wholesaling properties and rehabbing some properties, I was still working full time in corporate America, and I was a general manager of a company, so I was very busy. I put my 50 plus hours a week in at corporate, and I put another 40 hours a week into to our business. Yeah. But I can focus very well, and I'm a massive action taker.
Right.
And I turn off all the noise around me. I don't listen to all the noise around me, which, and maybe I have an advantage over a lot of people just because of my age. I'm past a lot of that stuff. When I was younger, I listened to what everybody told me.
Yeah.
So I do have some advantages when it comes to that, I think, anyhow. And, we set up milestones that we had to hit. And as we were going over that first year, just in wholesaling in my first 6 months, out of the gate, I made over $100,000. Yeah. And I was like, holy crap.
Wow.
How did I do that?
Yeah.
And so then, and that was just wholesaling some properties. So then we got into that second 6 months, and I set myself up to start maybe doing a rehab or two. And we took on a couple more rehabs, and I doubled that in that second 6 months. And it was just like, okay. Then I told Suzan, I said, okay, if I really concentrate and focus and I leave corporate America now, I'll triple our business next year. And I did.
Wow.
And it was just, and of course Suzan was like, well, that'd be great because it'll take some of the work off of me. But we do very different things. Susan is the accounting side and does all that stuff because that's her background. Well, I just, quadruple her work is all I do.
Do you find in that story, do you find that, because we get asked this a lot, and we have a lot of listeners that are fairly new to getting into real estate or thinking about getting into it, but should they keep their job, whatever position they have, whatever job they have, do you think they should keep that for the first year? When do you think they can take that step into, in your opinion?
Well, no, that's actually a great question because I get that stuff a lot. And I don't think that people should think of it in a time frame. I think you should think of it in the milestones that you're setting. Are you hitting those goals?
What are your goals?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, first off, you've got to set goals.
Exactly.
And if you haven't done that, that's where you start.
Right.
That was also another big problem of mine in the beginning. I was terrible about setting goals. I'd set them in my head. I wouldn't write them down. And I never accomplished anything because of that.
Exactly.
And so, I think, like I said, we set specific, every month we had to hit a certain number, a dollar amount, consistently for this amount of time. If we accomplished that, then we would set the goal a little bit higher for this period of time. And that was really how we did it. And we were able to do that month after month.
Yeah.
And then that's also where you build your confidence.
Right.
And by doing that, we weren't putting that additional pressure on ourselves.
Right.
And most people up and quit their job, and now the pressure's on it right out of the gate. You've got to go make money to feed your family.
Absolutely.
And it's very difficult for anybody to do that.
Yeah.
I don't care who you are, it's very difficult. So by keeping that job and setting that plan and hitting those milestones, it eliminates so much pressure, and you can concentrate more on what you're actually trying to accomplish.
Correct. That makes sense.
That's how
yeah,
I feel.
absolutely.
No, I think it's a great answer.
I had 3 takeaways from that. Number 1, extreme focus. It seems like you were extremely focused. Yeah. And number 2, you treated it like a job. I think a lot of investors, it's a hobby. I'm doing this on a side gig. No, you treated it like your 9 to 5 job.
Exactly.
Right?
Well, yeah. I mean, the early rentals, it was a side job.
Right.
Yeah.
And I really realized that. And even though we had the 6 single families, the 8 unit, that 10 unit became our biggest nightmare. That was a property that we bought that nothing came good out of that.
Yeah.
but and it took a long time for me to finally get into my mindset that it was just a very expensive education.
I know what you mean.
Very, very expensive education. But we learned so much from that, and we've never gone back and made those mistakes again. Yeah. So that's the key there.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think the other thing was, like you were saying, with the taking it, that he took it seriously, his job, it was like his job. But at the same time, when he became an entrepreneur, also because I think so many people, they become an entrepreneur and they think, I can wake up at 10, and there are some people that set different lifestyles. But I remember, for Joni and I, one of the advantages, and I'm glad we have you, because for Joni and I, we started at 19. So we could make.
We didn't have the bad habits, but we didn't have all those things.
But we didn't have kids. We didn't have
we had all
payments.
the time in the world.
We didn't have house payments. We didn't have nothing. So we lived off ramen noodle and everything. But it was okay because it was just the two of us. So it was a different way of building something. We could take more risk. We could live off less. Where sometimes if you already have children, you have a house and all those things, obligations to pay for, jumping right in can be
a bit scary. Absolutely.
Oh, definitely. And we were fortunate where all my kids were out of the house at that point, and it was just the 2 of us. So that was kind of we didn't have the pressure of raising kids because I was done with that.
Right.
But we still had we had the house, we had obligations, and so and of course I was in corporate America. I was making a very good salary. I had every benefit you could ever want. You go just jump in. You're giving all that up.
You're right.
No vacations. No paycheck every 2 weeks.
What's also really cool about this story, Steve, is that your partner, Suzan, because part of this, having a partnership, you have to have an understanding, and and the support to back you, right? Because that could be scary for a partner to be like, you know what, like tomorrow I'm that's it. Like I'm going, full force as being an entrepreneur. And so I think, I give a lot of credit to Suzan for like jumping right in there.
Was she on board with you at the beginning? Like, were you guys on the same page? Or?
We were on the same page, but she wasn't ready for me to leave. And of course, the way that my coach taught me, I'm very much of, putting myself out in front of people, showing people who I am from all aspects of integrity, honesty, and all that stuff. And so my big thing is also, if I'm really committed to doing something, then I've got to announce it, set a date, and make it happen. And if I do it in public, then I've got to make it happen.
You got to make it happen.
And so we, my coach and I have been talking about this, and I was actually at a Wealth Club meeting one morning. It was the Wealth Club used to be on Saturdays, and my coach and I had been talking about this, and I was on stage doing something. He was interviewing me or something of that sort. I don't really remember. And in front, there was about 150 people at the meeting, and I said, "Okay, guys, here's my goal. This is the day I'm leaving corporate America." And Suzan sat there with, I think she had to pick her mouth up off the floor that I said it, because I put it out there.
You put it out there.
And when we were driving home, she looked at me and said, "I really wasn't ready for that. I really don't know if I'm good with that yet." And so I said, I told you that this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to triple our business. I'm going to make it happen. There will be no looking back. You won't have to worry. And she said, "Okay, I'm trusting in you."
Yeah.
And I did that. And it was almost another year before she left corporate America, because she was not convinced. And it was, we had to do a little prying to get her to come. But it was like, "Okay, Suzan, I mean, we've been doing this a couple of years now, and we've got business happening. We're busy. I need your help."
Right.
But and I had to have my coach. I had to have several people talk to her about you really need to give this some thought. But it was difficult for her to leave. It was, and of course after she did, a month or two after she was working, we were working together all in. She was like, "Oh, this was the best thing I ever did." Yeah, exactly. But like I say, the fear of no salary, no benefits.
Right.
I mean, that most people would never do that.
Right.
And I can't say as I blame most people. You've got to have the drive. You've got to have the right mindset.
Yes.
And once you commit, there's no
turning back.
Burn the ship,
Yeah, and that's a big thing, right? That's a takeaway I took right now is, setting goals, but, it's, you can set the goals and write them down, but if you're not going to take action on those, so I love what you did with putting it out there, because you're committing.
Oh, yeah.
At that point.
Yeah, because people will remember that day and time, and they're going to be coming back and saying, "Well, where are you at?"
Yeah.
And I've seen it happen to other people all the time. Well, I had to change this. This happened, and I'm not doing that anymore.
Right.
That's what happens with most people. And I was like, there's no way I'm going to be that guy.
Yeah.
For me, I wasn't going to be.
Yeah.
So what about when she did come on board? Since you guys did have separate careers and then joined forces together, because we get asked a lot, and since again we started so young, we started the business together. We were both in really early. Sometimes it's hard to give advice to couples that, when Joni and I have been doing it for so long. When you guys two joined forces, what was it like? How did you guys start working together, husband or partners? How did you guys...
Defining the roles can be, who does what type of thing.
How did you make that work? And how do you make it work today?
Okay, well, that which is a great question. I was going to actually want to talk about that. For most people, that's a big thing. For us, it was really easy. Simple fact is, in my job, I'm operations. I'm sales. I'm management. Suzan was management, but she's controller. She's HR. The things that we did in corporate America were totally the opposite.
Isn't that funny? Usually partnerships are always like the total, great partnerships at work are always the total opposite.
Oh yeah. I mean, so there was never a question of who was going to do what.
Makes sense.
Susan's not going to go out and talk to sellers. I'm not going to sit there and try and figure out accounting.
Right.
That would be a big mistake if we did that. And so that made it very easy for us. But in most cases, everybody wants to do the same thing. Especially if you're watching TV, which you shouldn't be doing. But everybody wants to be out there in the forefront. Everybody wants to be, out there flipping the houses and doing all this stuff. And even Susan in the beginning, she said, I thought I'd be going and looking at houses with you and seeing houses. And we've got 50, 60 rental properties right now, and she's never been to one of them. She never sees any of the flips. As a matter of fact, I was doing a video for some stuff that we're doing, and I'll do them at different houses. And we just got done rehabbing one, and I'm standing in the kitchen area, and after I did the videos, Susan sends me an email the other day, like, "What house were you in?" and I told her which house it was. Like, I had no idea it looked like that. Well, it didn't until I just got done fixing it.
Pretty cool to not have to go to your house and be like, wait, we own that?
Yeah.
She cut the checks probably for that house. Didn't even notice.
She cuts all the checks for that stuff. So she knows the number side. She knows all the addresses, but she never goes out to properties with me. So that was, like I say, for us, it was very simple. But, most of the time, everybody wants to do the same thing.
Yeah.
And even now with the Wealth Club, and I say it all the time. I mean, I'm just a pretty face up here. The real brains of the operations is over here. So and that's really the truth of a lot of business. Just because I'm out there and people see me, that's really not where the business runs.
Right.
The business runs on the back end, the accounting, and all those things that really make the business keep running.
Yeah.
And so that's really the biggest thing is, figure out what you do and go with your strengths. And if you have the same strengths as a couple, then if you both want to do the same thing, then you're going to have to find someone to fill that void.
Right.
But in the beginning, it's probably going to be difficult because there's not going to be any money there to do that with.
Right.
So, we need to see what we do best and try and go down that path.
Right.
Do you find you take it home a lot since you guys, how do you balance work and, are you constantly talking real estate? Are you guys okay with it, or do you guys just shut it off at times?
Sometimes we shut it off, but not most of the time. Yeah. I mean, this is what we do. This is who we are.
Yeah.
And over the years, we've gotten to know a lot more very successful real estate investors across the country. So we vacation and do things with other big groups of investors, and like I say, we'll be out of town with some investors next week. Now we're going to go have a great time, because we all we're all very outdoorsy people and all that kind of stuff. But we will talk some strategies because I've already got some new things that I'm doing, and I've got all week to talk to my mentor about how do we set this up. So we'll go back and forth but that's who we are, and we enjoy that.
Yes.
But I've got 7 grandkids. I've got 3 kids, and we deal with family, and we go over and do that stuff, and I shut it all off when we go do that. But that stuff is easy for me to do. A lot of people it's not. But if you've got small kids, then you've got to schedule. You've got to schedule your time. This is work hours, and being an entrepreneur, as we all know, there's sacrifices that we're going to have to
absolutely
make. Yes. That's just the reality of it. But if you're making those sacrifices the right way for the right reasons, I think it's okay. But you still are going to have to give some time for your family.
Absolutely.
Without a doubt.
Yeah, I think what works well for me is routine. I mean, routines, I get up at, early in the morning, 5, work out, and I get the things that I need in that day, but in one of them is family, having that time after work to spend with family. So I agree with that 100%, that you have to schedule your time.
Yeah, it makes a huge difference. And like you were just talking about, I mean, I'm still that guy. I get up at 5, 7 days a week.
Yeah.
I'm up at 5 every day.
Even though you don't even have to, right?
Even though I don't have to.
Right.
Yeah. But that's my schedule.
Yeah.
And I'm totally fine with that. And I as I get a little older, I don't sit in my office as late in the evening. Get a little tired, because Susan will be in there till 9, 10 o'clock at night, doing stuff at just about most nights. And I'm like, okay, I can't go that late anymore.
Right.
I got to go to bed.
Yeah.
So, I mean, since you've helped coach and mentor and teach a lot of people through the Wealth Club, what would you recommend for people that are just looking to start off in real estate investing? And you can even relate it to just becoming an entrepreneur. But what advice would you give if somebody said, "Yeah, I want to take this career path"? What do you recommend?
Well, the first thing they need to do is they need to get education. Mm-hmm. Education is everything. It's kind of funny because I still do classes and go to seminars and stuff, and people come up to me and they're going, "What are you doing here?" Mm-hmm. I'm here to learn just like you are. Why wouldn't I? I mean, I'm like, why wouldn't I be here?
Yeah.
So education, I think, is first and foremost, and then finding the right groups for what you want to do and get involved with that group.
Right.
And there's a million different things we can do in real estate as real estate investors. We don't just have to wholesale. We don't just have to flip properties or have rental properties. There's a lot of things we can do. Find what works best for your personality and who you are. Sit down and think about that. And then once you have determined what you think you want to do, even if you change your mind down the road, go down that path. Find that education. Find those groups that are doing what you think you want to do. And once you get involved, that's how you're going to start figuring out if this is what you want to do. Flipping houses is a lot of work. And I think y'all know that.
Yeah, it's a ton of work.
And owning rental properties, it's a lot of work.
Dealing with tenants.
A lot of people just want to be very passive, and there's a lot of very good passive ways to be involved.
Right.
I'm very fortunate to, I've always raised private money. I've never had to use any kind of hard money or any of those guys. Know all of them. Don't use any of them.
Yes.
And so I put lots of money to work for lots of investors and a lot of programs that we've created over the years. And, find what your passion is and then just get educated. And with the Wealth Club, I do workshops once a month. We have our meeting once a month. And our group, compared to all the other groups out there, yes, we're going to have networking time, but there is going to be an hour education at every single meeting on a topic, not to pitch a bunch of stuff to you, but to teach you things.
Yes.
And that's what Wealth Club has been founded on that.
Right.
And we hold very, very true to that.
Well, I like that because I do find that you have to, there's so many different ways to invest in real estate, and you do have to find that passion, and figure out what you want to do. A lot of our investors like to, invest passively. We do all the renovations for them, place a tenant, and they just want to buy.
Yeah, exactly.
So you really have to figure out what you want to do. But I do love what you have going on with the Wealth Club. And if you want to maybe talk a little bit about that, I know you have some cool things that are going on, how you had to adjust from, in person to now Zoom, all that. But I think it's all in all, it was great for you guys.
It was. We had, I like a live audience. And, when we did our first meeting on the internet, and I'm sitting there in front of my computer, looking at my presentation and looking at myself, going, maybe 5 people might be looking at me. I don't know. But you're talking to yourself.
Right.
You've got no interaction. It was a big adjustment. And but as it turns out, that very first meeting we did, we had about 75 or 100 people on, which I was just totally shocked.
Yes.
And but because we've gotten much better at it over this past year and a half, our following has just exploded.
Yeah.
It's crazy. I don't even know how any of that stuff works, and it just kind of blows me away.
Yeah.
But I will say we will be going back to live meetings in July.
That's great.
So I'm looking very forward to that. We'll do a huge splash on that.
Can people get involved if, say, they're not local to this market? Are you still going to do Zoom, or how can they participate with you?
Yeah, definitely. We're talking about that now. Now we with the Wealth Club, we invite guests to come and at any time. We've got some memberships. We've got a basic membership. We've got a platinum membership. I'm talking $20 a month or $50 a month. We're not breaking in the bank here. And people can get involved with all the things we do online. All of our meetings are taped. So if you're a member, you can go back and watch a meeting.
That's great.
we're talking right now and trying to figure out especially these first few meetings. We go back live. We want to also stream live as well. And how long we'll keep that going, who knows at this point. But all of my workshops will keep online, so anybody can tune in on the second Wednesday of every month to our workshops, that's really good. So we've got people that tune into us from all over the country and listen to different things. We've actually got some people around the world that follow us, which I don't know how that worked out. But,
yeah.
But
no, I think it's great because I think we get a lot of times investors asking, where do I get started? How do I get started?
Yeah.
Well, this is a great way. Get your feet wet, see what they're all talking about. You have different guests, from time to time, and get knowledgeable.
Yeah, for our meetings, I try to bring in a guest speaker just about every month because I'm doing all the workshops. I do a few meetings. As a matter of fact, I'll do our June meeting. But we bring in and talk about all kinds of topics. Mobile home parks, commercial, residential, rental properties, flipping houses, estimating repairs, raising private money, all the things that we need to do out there, all the things that are possible to do, and help give a really well-balanced idea for someone, especially if you're just trying to figure it out in the beginning.
Yeah.
And if you can go to our website, the Wealth Club website, and you can connect with us. We're really friendly. We'll help anybody any way that we can.
Yes.
Do you offer specialized mentoring within the?
I do a little bit of coaching.
Okay.
Now we do have a personal coaching program. I take on a handful of students every year. My goal is not to coach everybody in the world out there. I don't want to be ever considered a guru, any of that, because we're full-time real estate investors. That's what we do. Yeah. But I'll take on a handful of students every year, and if you want to be a student of mine, it's like I take you right under the wing, and you're going out to properties. We're going and doing things. It's on the ground training. You get appointments. I'm going with you on the appointments. It's a very, very personal.
Oh, that's
program,
great. Yeah.
So I always ask people, especially after 16 years in this business, what's your next? What's your next 5 years look like? What's your next chapter? Is there something you're working on that you? I always like to know as we evolve, because
yeah, definitely. Well, yeah, I mean, we're evolving more towards, I want to be the bank.
Okay.
I want to, the bank wins. The bank is like the casino.
Yeah.
and that's
I like that.
That's the best place to be.
Yeah.
So we're going a lot more that direction and working towards that direction through private lending, through some of the programs we have, putting our investors' money to work. We've got a mortgage note program. We do owner finance. And like I said, every property that we buy is all private money, so we're putting a lot of money to work that way. But we're definitely working more towards building a lot more capital to be the bank.
Okay. Or do you do just curious, this is a personal question. Are you doing, for your stuff, are you looking short-term loans, or are you doing some longer-term stuff?
On the lending side, more shorter term. Okay. On the borrowing side, both. But I do a lot of long-term lending with my private lenders. I've got some of my lenders on 15-year amortized notes of our rental properties. Owner finance properties, we usually do a 20-year AM with a 5-year adjustment. Okay. So we can go in and look at it in 5 years. If they want to stay in it, we keep them in it. If not, we'll just take them out and put somebody else in it.
Wow, great. Very cool.
But the long term is good. Everybody always thinks short term, but the reality is, if you can keep your money working over a longer period of time, even if you're getting a smaller interest rate, you come out ahead. Yeah, leaps and bounds. Yes. You always come out. It's the tortoise and the hare.
Yep.
Just like where you and Suzan are at. Are you? Because this is a question I got in a mastermind the other day. People balance between having a rental portfolio, like we have something similar to you, Joni and I, and then we also do some lending. The thing with the lending, sometimes those notes are eventually going to come due, right? And you're going to have to put that money back to work to something. Rentals, they should last forever and just keep going, but they're also a lot more, probably more work than your notes and everything that have a business. So long term, if you're looking to get more passive, what What's your opinion on that? Like,
Well,
or is it just a balance between the two?
well, I think there's definitely needs to be a balance. And I've actually got a private lender roadmap book that I've got then if anybody goes on our website, you can get a free copy.
Oh, cool.
That's where we've created more programs to keep people's money working for a longer period of time. So in our mortgage note program, we put everybody on a 2-year term, and then we evaluate after 2 years whether we keep them on that note, take them out, put them on another one, or just move on. And with owner finance, like I said, that can be worked out a million different ways. We've got some of our lenders on 10-year notes. We've got some on 15. We've got some on 5, and then the short term. But like you say, with the short term, I might be able to pay you a higher interest rate, but you're in and out of those deals.
Right.
And now we've got to wait to find another deal that's going to work for you. And I've got a whole lot of private lenders.
Right.
So obviously the cheapest money goes to work first.
Right, exactly.
so I think finding that if you're going to lend money, getting on a longer term deal, even with a smaller interest rate, you're gonna do far better over time.
Yeah.
But like I say, from me lending, I'm lending at a much higher rate, but I can, because I have a lot of people out there.
Yes.
I can turn that money on, keep that money working a whole lot.
That makes sense. And I think to answer your question too, it all depends on your goals too. What are
Correct.
your long-term goals?
Exactly.
And so everybody's is different. Like
Well, and that's
so
one thing.
knowing what it is.
Yeah, and that's one thing I teach when in my I have about 4 different private lender presentations, and in every one of them I talk about that. You have to set your short-term investing goals and your long-term investing goals.
Absolutely.
And there's a lot of factors. Age is a huge one. I'm older than most of the people that I deal with, so I have to think of it differently. With the younger folks I work with, but then some of my lenders, they're older than I am.
Yeah.
They don't. No, we're not getting involved in anything too long because we might not be here. So if you're starting out raising a family, then it's really important to have those short-term and long-term goals.
Yeah.
And so, but it's a balance, and that's where all the education comes in. Just educate yourself on these types of things. I've got a book that's got great education in it. That's what that book is all about, and then the presentations that we do and the education we give as well.
Cool. And now that you're talking about books, any books that you recommend to our listeners to dive into? Your book, of course, we'll have that in the show notes, so everything about you. But any other books that you recommend?
There's 2 books that I always like the most. My 2 books. One of them is The Compound Effect, Darren Hardy.
Yes.
And it is so true, because this is something that I do all the time. Taking small things, doing consistently over and over and over again. That's how you will get the best results. So that's a huge one for me.
I love that book.
Yes.
And Success is Not an Accident by Thomas Newberry.
Okay.
That is a very, very good book. And if your success plan, your retirement plan is winning the lotto, not a good plan. If we want to have success, we've got to work at it. We've got to put a plan together. It's not just going to happen for anybody.
Yeah.
And that's both of them are very easy reads, and those are my 2 favorites.
Awesome. Well, I mean, you are a wealth of knowledge right here. So I am excited that you're on here today, because I think a lot of our listeners coming in, they don't know where to start. And looking back when we first started, that's what we did. We got involved with a group and, just soaked it all in. Maybe not too much, because then you don't take action. But, I think what you're providing is awesome. You and Suzan are working great together. And so, we will have everything about you in our show notes. So if you're thinking about investing in real estate, hit up Steve Vigil. He will get you set up in the mastermind in the Wealth Club.
Oh yeah, definitely. And I would also throw out there really quick that yes, you've got to get a lot of education, but don't go out there and spend tens of thousands of dollars out the gate. I mean, it's the worst thing anybody could ever do.
Right.
And,
I mean, you said yours is a nominal $20 or $50 a month.
Oh yeah. Yeah. We're very affordable. Yeah. But I get other things out of that. I get people coming to me for help and stuff, and so I benefit in other ways that I don't have to do that.
Yeah.
Correct.
And I want to teach people how to do things the right way.
Right.
Because there's so much bad education out
absolutely.
there. So,
Can you give out the how they can contact you, or how do they reach the Wealth Club?
Yeah, you can reach the Wealth Club. You can go online. It's www.thewealthclub.org. Make sure you put the. If you just put Wealth Club, it's going to take you someplace in Europe. So it's thewealthclub.org. You can email us at support@thewealthclub.org, or you can call us at 713-644-3500. And Angie answers the phone. And if you need to get a hold of me, Angie will get a hold of me. And anybody that calls in, we call everybody back. We try to catch the phone every time. Let us help you, put you in a good direction, or give you a way to go, or things to think about.
Absolutely, and just hanging out with like-minded individuals as well. You talked about your friends that you hang out with. We talk about that a lot. Like hang out with the people that you want to be like, right? And
yes, your surroundings are everything.
Absolutely.
The more you surround yourself with successful people, the more chance you have of being a successful person.
Absolutely. Well, I'm excited that you're starting up live events here soon. So we'll be back for that. We're in Houston, so we're right here in your neighborhood.
Yep.
But thank you again for joining us today. And anything else you'd like to share, Shawn?
No, we appreciate it. We're looking forward to co-sponsoring with the events that you have coming up and being a part of that. So if you guys come out to the Wealth Club, we're going to be at a lot of those events, so please say hi. Otherwise, we'll see you all next week. And thank you so much.
Well, thank you guys for having me. I really had a good time and really appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Steve.
You're welcome.
You've been listening to Inside the Wolf's Den, an entrepreneurial journey with Shawn and Joni Wolfswinkle. Tons of entrepreneurial podcasts are out there. Talking. But Joni and Shawn are living it every single day. Their portfolio now includes many franchises and medium-sized businesses. We talk about the trials and motivators of successfully running a business. Join us again soon for another podcast. But until then, reach out on the website at InsideTheWolfsDen.com, on Facebook at Inside the Wolf's Den, on Instagram at Inside the Wolf Den. We'll see you again soon. This is Inside the Wolf's Den. We'll see you next time.